Start off by saying hello and thank you for joining us today. We're so excited to have our guest speaker on to speak about his use of DM schedules with his school and some of those successes that they've experienced. And, the main point is to really help us understand how schools and districts are leveraging DM schedules scheduling expertise, the best practices and technology for improving student outcomes. So we hope you all are able to get the most out of this session today. All right, so just a few housekeeping rules. Feel free to use the chat. We want you all to use it to introduce yourself, ask questions, or share any thoughts that you may have as we're going through the presentation. And if possible, keep your camera on so we can all, get those cues that, we're saying something that resonates with, each other. And so that we can make sure that we answer any questions that you have and just, keep you all, engaged while we go through this. And after the meeting, we're also going to send out a recording of the roundtable, so you all have that for reference. And then for those who attend, we're also going to send you a scheduling guide. And so just make sure that you are here, you're with us, and you'll be getting those resources afterwards. All right, so I wanted to start our time together just by providing you with a quick overview and grounding you in DMGroup's mission. So I get a lot of principals and school leaders who aren't even aware that we are working with or under DMGroup or district management group as a solution for educators that are looking to improve their strategic scheduling. And so just to give you a little background about that, DMGroup was founded in 2004, and the mission was to achieve systemic improvement in public education, which would in turn better outcomes for, or provide them with better outcomes for, their students. And so we focus on doing two things really well, and that's combining management techniques and educational best practices. So this strategic planning kind of falls under that umbrella of these two items of management techniques and educational best practices. And so what we define as success is, what is good for students, because ultimately that's what matters. And so we then look at what is good for operations, and then what is cost effective. And so these three pillars are at the core of what we do with our work with school systems. So our guest speakers for today are Mr. Darrell Williams. He's a principal with Cambridge Public Schools, and Allison Story. She's a principal with New Fairfield School District. Your facilitators for today are Alice Lai, Director of K-12 Scheduling, and myself, Charity Uzewulu. I am the Client Development Specialist. And so we'll be facilitating and leading the discussion for today. And a special thank you to our guest speakers for supporting this conversation with our principals. All right, so today's session will be about how two districts are leveraging technology to strategically schedule for special education in order to increase student achievement. So for all of us in the room right now, I just want you to take a minute to reflect on your current scheduling practices, especially when it comes to special education. So just kind of think of it on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being it's not working, 5 being it's the best thing ever, where you are in your district. And, feel free to share, because this is a safe place for us to learn and grow with each other. And so I want you all to kind of share where you are in the chat, 1 to 5, is your process working for you when it comes to special education? And then with 5 being that, it's definitely working. We're pleased, we're happy. Maybe we just want to get a little more information to improve that process. All right, what do we have so far? Alice, what do we have? What's the consensus?
We got a couple 3s. So it looks like some districts are sort of, it's not like super terrible, but it's not super great. We're kind of here in the middle, which makes sense. We're here to learn more about better ways to do that. Thanks so much to the districts and schools that shared so far.
Yeah. All right, so that kind of leads me to our conversations with school districts around the nation. A lot of the times they are sharing that their schedules aren't where they would like for them to be. So obviously they're able to get it done, but they know that there are solutions out there that could possibly help them improve the process, which in turn improves the outcome. So we all know that our priorities are to, first off, they're shared across many schools and districts, but we pretty much have some things in common that we want to be able to achieve with strategic scheduling. So a few of those usually lean towards common planning time, having those daily interventions, enrichment time, equitable specials, special education. And so we want to have those work in tandem with having that schedule be a catalyst to help you reach those goals for those different items that you all are looking to achieve with your scheduling. And so what you see on the screen is what you all experience if you're here in this room. And so I would say common special education challenges usually appear in the form of being able to make sure we're allocating the appropriate amount of resources to the students that are being served, really the students that fall under those individualized education plans. And so we want to make sure that you all understand fully how the special education software in particular works to solve for those challenges within your school. Because what we're seeing is there's a significant loss of instruction because schools aren't able to schedule appropriately with their special education population. All right, so we also see that through our research, because we have over 20 years of research and work with school leaders and districts, that we're finding that time and time again, scheduling is the barrier to them achieving their instructional outcomes that they set forth for themselves. And so we're hoping that today you really are able to see how, especially with our districts that are presenting today, how scheduling or having a scheduling tool is really helping them meet those instructional goals that they've set for themselves. Okay, so we see here with traditional scheduling that, we've all been there. I've been there. Alice has been there because we both worked in school systems for many years, and we were using sticky notes. We were using, Google spreadsheets, Excel, anything that we could get our hands on that would allow us to build out a schedule and, share it if possible, print it if possible. And so it was just very time consuming. It was an arduous task. It was something that was a bit overwhelming. Someone told me the other day, he said, I've tried scheduling. I looked at it many times and it's the worst thing ever. He was like, I'm so tired of looking at it. I don't want to be a part of this process. Help me. So obviously we love those conversations because we're like, okay, this is a chance for us to get in there and help. But we also understand that it is truly a struggle, for schools to be able to do this well, because we all want to do it well because kids are impacted by this when we don't deliver on this. So with our strategic scheduling, we want to be able to help you all see that transformation from going from those traditional ways of doing it, or, what we've always done, to now you have a strategic plan in place. And so scheduling, is definitely a lever to bring school priorities to life and then maximize outcomes. We also want to help you align to your school mission and vision, but actually make sure that that alignment is grounded in data, and that you are setting high expectations for yourself and for your staff. And then we also want to make sure that class sizes are equitable, that you are, meeting those with clear enrollment thresholds, that, your courses are intentionally added to supplement other offerings. So we want to make sure that it's more than just moving things around, that you're able to really meet those priorities with the creation of your schedule. All right, so this is just a framework of, how we approach the work. And then we're going to move into what this looks like. So we do have two offerings with DMSchedules. So we have our elementary school offering, and then we also have the special education layer on top of that. And what we're really going to get into is the special education portion, but we also want to show you a little bit about how the scheduling tool for elementary schools works, so you can see how they work in tandem. Okay, so this is just an overview of how we are able to set up an effective special education schedule. So this will be an example of that. So this is a completed schedule. It's a screenshot from our actual program. And so you'll see that there's times of the day on the left, and then you have your grades going across, and then everything in green is literacy, everything in blue is math. And then what's important about this is that schools can be strategic about designating time to support all of those grades and the subject areas for, like, if you have an MTSS plan. So this would help to support that. You get this bird's eye view of how things are being scheduled throughout the day. So this would, include things like tier 1 instruction, tier 2 instruction, tier 3, and so forth. You have those staggered intervention blocks because research has shown us that's the best way, or one of the best ways, to have those intervention blocks happen throughout the day. And then it also ensures that all of your classroom teachers have clarity around when they can push in and pull out for additional services. And so with this particular slide, this also gives you another vision as to how, or visual, as to how students are being provided services throughout the day. And you see that's layered on to their homeroom schedule. So it just helps to, like it says, foster that collaboration between both your homeroom teachers and then the staff that is working to provide those push in and pull out services. All right, and then with the special education layer of it, so you've seen how they kind of work in tandem together with those previous two visuals. With this is going to give you some data that you can use in those critical conversations to make sure that resources, human resources included, are being allocated appropriately. So it really gives you an oversight or the ability to have that data that you can access quickly to see how time is actually being spent in your school, in classrooms, and be able to share that with whoever is in need of that information. Okay. All right, so the main takeaway that I wanted to share is that there is a better way. And a lot of teachers and school leaders are looking for that. We've gotten a lot of requests about, scheduling right now. Is it a real tool? Because so many times I feel like, we get the okie doke when we're doing Google searches looking for something. And so it's really nice when they can sit with us and talk with us and realize, okay, not only is this a strategic tool that we can actually use, is real, but we also get all of this added support as well, if we decide to move forward with DMschedule. So you get the research, the support of district management group with your purchase of DMschedules. And just another little visual. And so we are going to take some time now to dive into a little bit more about our districts that we have presenting today. And so we want to first have Mr. Williams give us a little background information about his district, and then kind of, we'll start with answering some questions about his experience with using DMschedules. So Mr. Williams, would you like to take it away?
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me. My name is Darrell Williams. I'm the principal of the King Open School, which is an elementary school in Cambridge. I've been the principal of the school for about 13 years. So I've been able to do a great deal in terms of moving the school forward. District demographics, you can see African-American, 22.3%, American Indian or Native Alaskan, a Native, 2%, Asian, 13.5%, Hispanic or Latino, 14.3%, and you can see the rest. I won't continue to read. In terms of my school, I would say about 43+% identify as students of color, and about 43% identify as white. The remaining percentage identify as mixed race. We're probably the most linguistically and economically diverse school in the district. We have a dual immersion program and an autism program, which makes us also unique. We also have an after school that starts at about 11:30 in the day, and it goes to about 5:45 at night. The after school is also unique to King Open School. The after school program integrates into the school day, which again makes us one of the most unique schools in the district. In terms of my use of DMschedules, I think it was a game changer for us, for me specifically, but then for the school in general. It made scheduling easier. The program is easy to learn. Being able to set the parameters is really easy. And then the click and drag nature of the program made it easy to actually build the schedule. I would add that it took a load off me because the DM scheduling team actually took over the creation of the schedule under my guidance. And then they were willing to work directly with my school-based teams to get feedback from all stakeholders. So that would be special ed, related service providers, classroom teachers, everyone. And they were flexible over the summer. I mean, typically we try to have our schedules done by June, but some of the changes in the district required us to do the schedules over the summer. And so I was able to pull teachers together, and DM was flexible, responsive, and schedule themselves in a way that enabled me to engage the teacher in this conversation about school-based scheduling. So again, it was a game changer. One of the things that I think stands out for me is the access that the district has to the schedule and the full access that everyone in the school has to the schedule. So before we were using Google Docs, which was fine. It worked. But with this scheduling tool, everyone can simply click on one link and everyone can see each other's schedule in the same place. That would be true for the district. When we added the special education portion of the scheduling program, that was also a game changer, because what it enabled the special educators to do is actually see classroom teacher schedules. Usually they would have to go into individual teachers' classrooms or access individual schedules via Google. It was just a time-consuming process. And then managing conflicts was also difficult. So as soon as you found the conflict, you would have to go through the same process again, connecting with different teachers, classroom teachers, related service providers, special educators, so you can adjust your pull-out schedules. DM changed that because they were able to actually have access to the classroom teacher schedules and access to the student schedules so that they can carefully craft their individual schedules and to do so in a relatively short period. So my general experience with DM is, again, that it was a game changer for the school. Teachers love it. At first, they were a little bit apprehensive. But over time, they learned how to use the program, and now they actually feel like they can't do without it. So happy to continue the partnership, happy to answer specific questions about, what we went through, the process, so that in hopes that it might help someone else make a decision.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, we always enjoy hearing, from our partners, how well they were able to implement the program to achieve their goals. So thank you so much for sharing that. And we'll come back to you, but I want to get to Allison, give her a chance to introduce her district and give us a little bit more about her experience, a general overview about her experience with DM schedules as well. Hi, Allison.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So I'm in a very different type of district. I'm in a small district, New Fairfield public schools. We have 4 schools, although we are going down to being 3 schools, of which I'm the principal of 2 of them. So Consolidated Meeting House was 2 different elementary schools that this is our second year we're on a combined campus, beginning to function as one large school with over 1,000 students, 200 staff members. So a little bit of a different school district than Durrell. As you can see, we have 40 different languages spoken within our district. We currently have, in our special ed population, within my school, we are actually at 18.5% identified special education. So we're a little bit higher than our district average. We have a integrated preschool program as part of our school. And so when we started using DM, when I was the administrator of just our upper elementary. And at that point, we were only using just the elementary scheduling side of things. And that was, for us, that was hugely helpful. It took us also away from using Google Sheets and creating random schedules sitting in our conference room with the Post-it notes. We spent a lot of time doing that. And so once we started using DM, the time spent on scheduling was cut in half because we were able to manipulate on the computer, and it was instantaneous, and we could see what each move we made within the schedule, the impact that it had on other parts of the schedule, and that was hugely helpful. We started using the special ed side about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, and that widely opened our eyes to opportunity that was available to us to really be better for our students. We were able to be more efficient with time because when we put each of our special educators and our support staff, speech and language psychologists, and we put them into the special ed side of the DM schedule, they could then go and see their caseload of students. Oh, not only could they see their classroom teacher's schedule, but they could see when this other service providers were pulling students. So allowed us to make sure that we were not pulling students out of the classroom twice, overlapping one another. So that really, really helped. It also helped us look at the special ed side of things to make sure that students were not missing too much of their classroom time, that their pullouts really matched what was in their IEP programs, so that we could really make sure we were maximizing their educational time. It has been a game changer for us. We actually just started putting in all of our paraprofessionals so that we could create individual schedules for them, because we found that we would walk into a classroom and we would see that there would be a paraprofessional educator who may not be needed at that moment and could be better utilized elsewhere. And so by putting them into the DM scheduler, now we are starting to be able to be more efficient with their time and more being able to service more students across the entire school. So with having such a large population, it is hugely helpful. And because we have a teaming model for our upper grades, 2 teachers sharing 2 homerooms and dividing ELA and math, that has allowed us to create and see what are the teachers doing, while we can also see what are the students doing. So we can see both sides of the schedule. So a student may be in ELA from this homeroom, but their teacher is teaching math to another subject area. So there's that flexibility to see what both the student view and the teacher view. We also use it for our special areas, and we have 11 special area teachers. So making sure that there's equity in their programming to make sure that each of the blocks, we schedule them. So it's really been a very helpful tool for us because we can provide equity among the staff. We can make sure that we're really reaching each student's programming. And again, I'm happy to continue to answer specific questions regarding how we use the program, but it really has been a game changer, and we are thrilled to be able to have this type of program to use because it really makes our lives easier. And we will be able to walk out of school hopefully in June with the schedule ready to go and teachers knowing what they're doing for the fall, so that can help them plan as they think about things over the summer.
Most definitely. Thank you, Allison. That was great. Thank you both for sharing your perspective and experiences with it. And I know you all don't want to hear me talk the whole time, so I want to give you all a chance to go at it, ask questions, find out what their experience is like, share your experience. We want to hear from you all because that's what this is for us to have this community of school leaders being able to share their, current challenges, and then trying to see how this tool will actually help them. And if you all are interested in seeing the product, we can show you that too. So let's go ahead with some questions. Who has a question about or a question for Mr. Williams or Ms. Story?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
To both of you, are you all allocating your special education teachers based on the regulations, or are you kind of allowing for, if there are high needs somewhere, there are funds or bodies for adding additional people to support? Are you strictly allocating teachers based on regulations?
For me, I'm strictly allocating people based on the regulations, informed obviously by students' IEPs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're the same.
Okay. What did the front work look like for kind of grouping not only your students with disabilities, but tier 2, tier 3 in kind of one place so that the special educator is maximizing that impact, when they're in that particular classroom, just kind of avoiding the multiple fifth graders across 3 fifth-grade teacher phenomena where you have to kind of spread the time. What did that front work look like with DM schedule?
Well, for me, it started off with the a district making changes to the time allocations for subjects. Then rolling out some expectations in terms of when special educators could actually pull students out of the classroom, because the goal was to make sure we were maximizing instructional time for all students, with a particular emphasis on students on IEPs and the students who also needed intervention. And so with that groundwork, I then, my team and school-based team, we met with the special ed team, and then we created these, what we call parameters, these times that we would all agree to pull out, and no other time would be on the table for pull-out services. With that said, and it enabled us to be a little bit more equitable across the board in terms of when we pulled the students out, while at the same time making sure that students were not missing key instruction. Then in collaboration with DMschedules, we made sure that it was clear on the schedules what time, when, and at what time students were actually being pulled out, because that enabled not only our special educators to be more efficient, it also enabled our interventionists to be more efficient. Does that help to answer your question?
Absolutely. And new students coming in, being found newly eligible, and then having to factor them into the schedule, was that pretty easy with this platform?
It was very easy. If it was just one student, we could just manually go in and do that. If it was a bulk of students, the DM schedule would simply just upload that information for us. Fortunately, we only had a few students over the course of the year who fell underneath that category.
Thank you.
Now, I know Maya isn't the only one with questions.
I have a question. So one of the big things in our district is making sure that everyone has similar duty schedules. No one's doing 10 duties versus 3, stuff like that. So is there a way to put in something like that, a duty schedule for like recess and lunch and stuff like that?
We haven't used DM schedules for that, so I don't believe that there is. We have a separate duty schedule outside of DM schedule that aligns with DM schedule.
Yeah.
Not specifically connected.
We're the same.
And then I think I'm just gonna assume that you can also include interventionists and stuff like that as okay. All right. That's all.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's what I was going to ask if I could jump in. I'm currently using DM scheduling for our master schedules, so I had the same comments that we just heard as far as like the ease of which that you can develop the schedule, upload students, put in manually, all of that's very easy for everybody to see. And it helps you as the administrator to be able to streamline and make sure that there's common planning periods. And this is our second year using DM, so we added our win periods, our intervention periods in as well. So I'm here because I'm really curious to see the special ed layer and how that would look on top of, our master schedule already, and the possibility of also some of our tier 2 and tier 3 supports and how we could work that in there. So I'd love to see that.
Yeah, actually, thank you, Julianne and Cheryl and Maya, for all your questions. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Alice. I used to be a middle school principal and I was an elementary school teacher, and I lived that life with Post-its and Excel spreadsheets, which is why I'm so passionate about our DM schedules programs. I'm actually going to just share my screen right now and walk you through just a few highlights so you can visualize some of these amazing benefits that you're hearing Darrell and Allison talk about. And as I'm sharing my screen and walking you through them, please feel free to pop any questions in the chat that might come to mind as you are sort of thinking about what this could mean for your school or your district. So right now I'm showing you, as many of you are familiar, I know a lot of you use our DMSchedules elementary master scheduling program. This is an example of a completed school-wide schedule. You can see, you know, literacy is green and math is blue, and you can see those staggered intervention blocks and whatnot. So our schools who use this, you can add on, Cheryl, I think to your question, you can double click. And I just wanted to show you, you can add additional adults into those blocks of time. And that can work for both instructional support, like paraprofessionals, interventionists, special education teachers, and it can also work for duty assignments as well. And so you can double click on the lunch block, and we have schools that assign people for lunch supervision, campus supervision, recess supervision, all of those things, and it'll get added to that individual adult schedule, and you can create that duty schedule from there as well. So just wanted to highlight that really quickly. Now for our schools that have special education scheduling, you just click over here and it layers right on top. I'm logged in as a district administrator right now, and you can access all the things in one easy click. So you can click manage schedules. And what you can see here is, you know, you can toggle back and forth for every type of role that you're using this program for. It can be physical therapy, special education, counseling, intervention, anyone in your MTSS plan, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You can look at it across a district and see all the people that have that similar role. So these are all the physical therapists in my pretend district. These are all my special educators in my pretend district. Now, as you build out schedules, you can look at, these are the special educators, here are the schools that they serve. You can look and compare like caseloads. You can look at the percentage of time that's spent working directly with kids, average group size, travel if they're doing that between buildings. So there's a wealth of data here that you can access and look into just to get a baseline understanding of how adults are spending their time in your building or in your district. Now I'm going to click into Gertrude Gill to show you the view from a provider's perspective, like a special education teacher, because I think that's really powerful. When I was a middle school principal, my special education teachers, they would, you know, get their roster for the year on their caseload, their 30 kids, and then they're pulling the paper copies or Excel spreadsheets of every individual kid's schedule and then hunting for that common time to either pull out a group or push in a group. So I'm clicking Gertrude Guild. She's my special education teachers. What teachers see on the front end is just initially, hey, my 22 kids on my caseload for my SAS system, does it match what I see here in the system? If anything's changed, you click the pencil button and you can edit from there. From there, we ask that teachers just confirm each service, each type of support that each student gets. So Millicent, one of our focus areas is math. With a frequency and duration is 3 times a week for 30 minutes. It's in class, it's in a group setting, it's assigned to me, Gertrude Guild. Now we do this initial upload of all your students. Like Darrell mentioned, we can do sort of synchronized like monthly uploads or weekly as needed. Most schools, I would say, at update one by one after their IEP meeting because it's just easier to do so, but we can definitely support both ways. If you wanted to add additional services for Millicent after her 30-day IEP, you could click that and add additional areas. And so that's how you sort of specify what supports each kid needs. After you've done that for all your kiddos, you click done, and now you're ready to start building your schedule as a special education teacher. Here on the left is the students that I still need to schedule. There's about 20 kids. And then here on the right is just an example of my schedule that I've started building out. I've color coded it because we know we love to color code. My push-in services are blue, my pull-out are purple. When you hover over that group, you can see the details of the kids that you're servicing. In parentheses, it tells you the grade level, the homeroom teacher, the content area, you know, the duration, whether it's push-in or pull-out, and then the setting as well. And you can see that for all the kids. So I'm just going to show you really quickly how easy it is to schedule. We recommend grouping by need, but you can also look at it by individual student. We group by need because we know you can pull across grade levels and pull across homerooms where appropriate. The system is making some natural recommendations about groupings that you can make. So the blue bars tell you, hey, we've got some kids that need behavior support in class. We've got some natural groupings by grade level. Here are the names, the homeroom teacher's name in parentheses, and then 2 by 30 means twice a week for 30 minutes. Then we've got some kids that need some math support, both push in and pull out. Then we've got some kids that need reading support as well. And it's super easy to schedule. For behavior support, let's say we want to schedule Karina and Dale. I click on Karina's name and those color-coded boxes pop up. That is her homeroom teacher schedule. and it just directly connects here. If I want to schedule Dale in that same group, he's also in Miss Smith's class, so the same homeroom schedule pops up. Let's say we know they need this behavior support twice a week for 30 minutes, maybe during their science and social studies block. I drag it over onto my schedule. I click Monday and Wednesday. I can add other students. I can add notes about the specific skill I'm working on. It's push it in class. I click blue. Now it's on my schedule. So it's super easy to do. I'll just show you really quickly also how you can schedule across homerooms as well, because I think that ease is really helpful. So we've got some kids that need reading support in kinder and a pullout. John is in Miss Jones's class. Karina and Dale and Anne-Marie, they're in Miss Smith's class. So now we have 2 homeroom schedules layered next to each other. Super easy to figure out when you want to pull that group. If I want to add in Latha, she's in 1st grade, but she reads at a similar level, I just click Latha's name, and now her schedule for her teacher, her homeroom schedule shows up as well. And let's say we know small group instruction is happening right here in the middle. And so I'm going to add these kids 5 times a week for 30 minutes. You can add other students, add notes about what you're focusing on for that skill and that support. I'm going to color code it purple so it's on my schedule. And when I click save, it's on my schedule. So the ease of with which you can schedule really sets up teachers for success. Additionally, I know when our staff would schedule, me and Charity might show up at the same time to provide Allison services because we didn't know we tried to book her at the same time. With this program, you can click on Marceline's name, her homeroom teacher schedule shows up and the gray boxes show up. That's any other time Marceline's being seen by any other type of provider. So she has speech and language Tuesday, Thursday, first thing in the morning, physical therapy Monday, Wednesday, Friday during lunch. And so I know I'm going to avoid those blocks. I'm probably also not going to schedule time right after speech and language, or she's going to miss that entire math block twice a week. So I just wanted to share a quick highlight and sort of overview of that, so you all sort of have a sort of baseline understanding of what the program can do, and then sort of open it back up for questions so that we can really hear from Darrell and Allison about their experiences using the programs as well. Just checking the chat. Charity, do you want to sort of start with the first one?
It looks like Richard has been handling them all. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Richard. Are there any questions anybody wants to ask whole group then, or some additional color to some of the questions that I see here in the chat?
I have a quick one. So I'm just thinking of that student who had OT, PT, special ed, and then layer on top of that like band or chorus. So you're able to put in that when they have that too.
Yeah, absolutely. We had many school districts. In fact, one shared recently in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, she uses it specifically for advanced specials. And so kids who get like a one-on-one violin lesson because they're that advanced are able to schedule that individual service. So it's for any variety of individual services you'd like to provide.
All right, thank you.
Great question.
I'm more thinking the last question I popped in there, when we are relinquishing the schedule development or the draft to DM schedules, if you see within the master, there's, a student with heavy minutes, there's not enough time. How then do you navigate? Do you come back to us to kind of have us make some decisions? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like Darrell mentioned, our team works in partnership with you all. We believe in sort of our philosophy around creating an easy to use tool with expertise to support, but you all know your students best, your staff best, and your schools best. And so what the program really does is highlight where some of those obstacles may occur. And then we work with you all to sort of think about, okay, for this kid who needs a lot of services, where is the ideal place to push in or pull out? Are there services that you want to prioritize in this semester versus the next semester? So really that conversation in partnership with you all, I think, is really beneficial. And I'm sure Darrell and Allison can speak to that a little bit more as well.
I agree 100%. There were multiple times where there was a conflict or something just didn't work, not enough time for this. And DMscheduled followed up with me and my scheduling team, and we had to make some decisions, prioritize some things. And we had different iterations of the schedule to help with that prioritization. So DMscheduling, flexible, open to feedback. As I said, the experience was great.
Yeah, I would say the same. I mean, whenever we have a question, Richard is usually the one I speak to the most often, and he's very quick to get back to me right away with whatever questions I have to help navigate the platform.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And I just wanted to show an example of what that could look like, Maya. So like in this example, I think we have math support for these kids. So like Maria's in Miss Jones's class, Karina and Dale are in Miss Smith's class. They all have math around the same time. But if you wanted, sorry, maybe it's this example. There's an example where with reading support, it can really highlight where there's any sort of like misalignment. So in this example, if I wanted to create a reading group for these 3 first graders and add in the second grader because they read at a similar level, there's not a natural overlap between the first grade and the second grade schedules where you could pull out that group. And so in this example, our team would sort of highlight that conflict for you where we could have some more efficiencies and schools can go back to sort of your master schedule and sort of think about, are there places where we want to change where some of this homeroom instruction is happening so we have some more natural, more efficient and effective opportunities for pull out or push in services? That's a great question. Yep, and I just wanted to provide a quick voiceover for what Richard chatted in there. So we don't build the schedules for you, we build them in partnership with your special education teachers and your building leadership. So we'll train you in how to use the software. We'll train your teachers one-on-one to sort of look at their caseload and sort of, they'll build their schedules when they run into sort of any sort of issues or where they're not sure to push in and pull out. We'll provide that ongoing support, but really on the front end, working with the district and school leadership to set those expectations around. This is when, teachers can push in and when they can pull out. These are our common expectations that we want to make sure all of our teachers are following as well. So thanks for sharing that, Richard.
Okay, I guess I heard that wrong. So I guess I need clarity on, it seemed that you all were saying you could create some sort of draft with the information. And then we were talking about giving you a list of the needs. And then of course we would be in partnership the whole way, but you all could kind of, here's the initial, is that not something that's provided?
Yeah, so I see Richard coming on videos. There he goes.
Yeah, so we should clarify the 2 parts of the software because we definitely partner with you on building a main school schedule, a grade level schedule that will support a lot of services by making sure that subjects are staggered and intervention times are staggered, etc. In terms of the special education, we will import all the IEP information from your system, and we've created an interface that makes it very easy and fast for staff to create their schedule. So we have some clients where individual special ed teachers, related services teacher build their schedule using the tool that Alice just showed. Or sometimes we have this done by administrators. So maybe the principal is building the schedule or the SPED director is building the schedule. But just I wanted to clarify that we are not producing special ed schedules for you. This is something we tried at one point, and it was not knowing the students, it's really impossible to do this for a third party. So what we focused on is giving you the best tools so that you know what the student needs, you know when is the best time to serve those students, and you know when other providers are providing services to those students. I hope that clarifies a little bit.
And I should add that my special education teachers and my interventionists, they created their schedules themselves, and it was very easy to do. And what they love again about the schedule is the fact that they could create the schedule, see the student schedules, and identify conflicts in advance, and finalize their schedule in fairly quickly.
Mine do the same as well. My special ed staff, support staff, they all schedule their own. And what's nice is as the administrator, we have instant access. We can see right away the changes that are being made on their schedule. So if there is a conflict, they can let us know. We can go in, we can see it, and help kind of guide them. And we've had to go in and unfinalize our master schedule to be able to adjust something to then get it to align with what's going on the special ed side of things. And there's that flexibility to do that as well.
I'm glad you brought up that point, Allison, about being able to go back in once you finalize to make changes. I actually had a school ask last week if they would be able to go in December and make changes, and would we be there, you know, as a support for them? And I was like, of course, like you don't get it and then we just leave you hanging. Like when you need support, you get it. And because we understand that budgets change, you know, people are come and go. And so you will have that flexibility to be able to go in and make those adjustments. Let me see. Yes, so you are able to put in early release schedules. So there's an option to build out alternate schedules, and that's where you would want to create and house those schedules for things like early release days, half days, parent-teacher conference days, anything that you're going to use throughout the year, but maybe not on a day-to-day basis. You could add that to the alternate schedules section.
We also create an assembly schedule, a testing schedule for our state testing.
Yes, I've been telling people about that recently because I was like, hey, if you need to, it's that time of year. We all know what that's like. I used to be, you know, the one to have to build the testing schedule, work on that. And it was great. It was great. And so I wish there was a tool like this around then when we were building out testing schedules, you know, getting all of the information to staff, it would have been so much easier. But yes, you are able to build out things like testing schedules. I know it was a lot of information. Any thoughts?
I have a question for Darrell and Allison, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah.
I was wondering, you know, now you're in your seat, you've used both programs for a while. What advice do you have for the people in the Zoom room with us? If they're thinking about it or, you know, wanting to bring it to their campus, like if they're a principal, what are like next steps you would recommend? If we have district leaders and superintendents on the call as well, if they're interested, like what do you think is the next best step to really determine if this is a good fit for your school or for your district?
Well, if you haven't already, I would say schedule time individually to talk with DM and go through and have, you know, see that what it does in when you can see the platform in action. Get a group of people who, if you have a team that you do your scheduling with, have them as part of the conversation so that you can kind of bounce those ideas back and forth, get those questions answered to make sure that it is a tool that you can use. And don't be afraid to try different things. I think this year alone, I think I have 9 different schedules that I've had to try and create. And I keep saving them so that I have them to refer back to, because if I like this, I create it, duplicate it, and then change what I want to. So don't be afraid to try, because it can give you, the system allows for that playing around opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I would add, just to be clear about your why do you think you need this additional this scheduling program? And for me, I thought it was important to experience it myself, and then to bring that experience to a group of folks so that we can have an opportunity to do some shared decision making, because I knew that I had to build buy-in for the two. And once I had the buy-in that I needed, I would also have the momentum that I needed to move it forward. So again, just be clear about, for me, I would say be clear about your why, because once you understand why you need this, then you'll pursue it and you'll build a plan to operationalize it.
That's great. I really love that. I think really anchoring in sort of your purpose. And then that part about the iteration, Allison, is so powerful because it would take hours and weeks to iterate with Post-its and Excel spreadsheets. And now you can sort of do it in a few minutes, or, you know, just sit down and see and visualize the different benefits and trade-offs. For both of you, sort of what's next? How do you envision using DM schedules to level up with some of your scheduling, whether it's like intervention, MTSS, or your master scheduling? Like, what are some ways that you're thinking about how you can continue to evolve the partnership there?
So I mentioned it before, one of ours is beginning to put in our paraprofessional support staff into the scheduler so that we can see where they fall, because our current practice is we assign paraprofessionals to students rather than programs, rather than classrooms in need. And so being a little bit more streamlined with that. So that is a huge next step for us. And we're hoping to add in our reading and math interventionists next year. Currently, we don't have them in there. We've just because we can see we have that block built in the schedule, so we didn't really need to, but we're kind of changing some structure a little bit as far as the building goes. So adding in our MTSS layer next year, because we currently use it for, like I said, our special ed, psychologists, social workers, OT, PT, and one of our reading interventionists, but we're going to do it for all of our tiered support next year.
For King Open, the district just added 30 additional minutes to the school day. And so we're thinking about how that 30 minutes should best be used. We already have the interventionists, the special educators, the whole school, quite frankly, using DM. So right now it's really about processing how things went this year and how can we be more effective? How can we be more equitable? And then how can we incorporate this 30 minutes? And perhaps it's making sure that we have a win block. We call it a win block, grades 3 to 5. That's 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week of no new curriculum so that students can get what they need. So whether you're struggling or you're an advanced learner, the idea is we're moving your learning forward. And so now the goal is about how do we kind of trickle that down to grades 1 through 2, 1 and 2, perhaps even K. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about right now as we move forward with DM.
That's great. I think that's really insightful. Allison, when you mentioned paraprofessionals, it actually reminded me of another conversation we've been having with another superintendent in Massachusetts. I think their practice historically has just been, parents request a paraprofessional and they typically get it. And right now they're thinking about, how can we use DM schedules to truly understand how paraprofessionals are being assigned, how they're spending their time? Is this the most efficient and effective way that we can support kids, which really kind of connects back to how our IEP is written and the service is written and whatnot. And so they really share that, sort of that wealth of data at their fingertips really is helping them sort of make some more informed decisions about best practices, because we know, those are our most valuable resources and quite a considerable number of dollars. And so we really wanted to sort of leverage that program to help them do that. So thanks for sharing sort of that. And I'm happy to connect you with them
Yeah, that would be great.
That option too. Yeah. Another question I had for both of you was just, can you share a little bit about how sort of the rollout has been with your staff? Like what's been your teacher reaction or leadership team reaction to bringing on DM schedules into your school and district?
Sure. So my leadership team, we use it all the time. Everybody, we're in there together working on schedules. So I have a team of 5. It's a team of 5. So we're all in there able to work. And it's been hugely helpful. We have rolled it out to, like I said, all of our special educators and everything, and they love it because it is taking so much less time for them to figure out how to group their students. The beginning of the year in the past, it used to be hours and days spent touching base with classroom teachers. Hey, can I pull this student here? Can I take this student there? Then going down the hallway to go talk to the speech pathologist to coordinate, hey, I need the student now. And that's all been taken off the table. So they can effectively get their schedules done with just a couple of hours worth of work rather than days worth of work, and really get up and running with their students much quicker. And that's been tremendously noticeable in the amount of time that they're spending with students versus working on schedules. And when they get students' hours changed within the year, it's really easy for them to go in and just edit or add services. If something dropped from 5 times 30, they can drop the 3 times 30 right in there real fast and make those adjustments that they need on the fly to figure out need. It's also been helpful for the teachers because if they share students on different caseloads, they've been able to, hey, you have a block here, because they can see each other's schedule through if they click on a student, they can say, hey, can you take this student into that group? And it helps with the collaboration among them as well.
Yeah, I would build on the fact that time efficiency is a major outcome, and then increased instructional or service delivery time. And then the last piece is operationalizing that support early on, which is a benefit for classroom teachers and most importantly, a benefit for students. In terms of getting this started, my experience, again, first, I had a presentation for myself, but I knew I had to build capacity, but I also wanted to learn as much about it as possible. Then I brought it to my instructional leadership team so that they could actually react, respond, because it's really shared decision-making is really important for my school community. And at that point, because people were still apprehensive about it, making sure that they were involved at every step. So in terms of giving feedback, what went well for you with your previous schedule and what didn't go so well? And how do we incorporate that into this new iteration in our collaboration with DM? And so I think making sure that the teachers had voice, paras had voice, all the stakeholders had voice as we together embarked upon this new initiative. It enabled us to build capacity and build the buy-in that people needed to actually use the schedule. It was a huge shift. Folks, it took away some of the teachers had a lot of independence in terms of creating their schedule. So they had to give up some of that independence and actually trust the process. And the way you reconcile that trust and that lack of independence is to actually make sure their voices are welcome and heard, and they know their voices are heard because they see the feedback actually being applied to the schedule. And so that continues to build that capacity over time, which is why we're at a place where folks actually, they're utilizing it, they're happy about it, and they're ready. It's not, will we continue? It's yes, we're continuing with DM schedules because the folks have bought into it.
I think that's such an important piece because you're not alone in your experience with the, building the buy-in for the product, because we hear all the time how, schools are trying to not only consolidate the process, the scheduling process, but make it more efficient because you can have too many hands in the pot and that creates a bit of chaos. And so when we are able to streamline the process and then have, build capacity in our teacher leaders, school leaders, district leaders, it really helps to make that process, just better all around. And most importantly, better for our students who are, at the receiving end of what we're providing them with. I think someone described it as delegate to elevate. Isn't that right, Alice? And we just thought that was just a clever way of talking about how important it is to help others, join in on that conversation and feel like they are valued members or contributors to something as important as, scheduling, school scheduling. So yeah, we appreciate that perspective and appreciate both of you sharing those experiences because it does matter what that process looks like to get everything going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to add one sort of final tidbit before Charity takes us home. Our hour is already up. I can't believe it. A lot of schools and leaders will say that time and efficiency is just so valuable because there's only so many minutes during the day for both your teachers and your building leaders. And so one superintendent recently asked me, like, how much money do you think I'm saving? And just like going with the program, like, how does that, what are the dollars, right? So I did the research and, we hear from schools and districts, it takes anywhere from like 2 weeks to a month for your special educators to start providing services to finalize their schedules. And with our programs, our schools are starting services typically on day 1 or day 2, definitely after the first week or so. And that's about 30 hours of instruction per adult per week. If you multiply that times an average salary, that's like $1,500 per adult that's building their schedule week to week. And so when you look at the numbers, that really helps you districts and schools sort of just understand, where do we want to invest our time? How do we want our adults to set up our kids for success? So that kids who need that extra help are getting that extra help from day 1. So I wanted to hand it back to Charity and sort of have her close us out. We really thank you all here for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for adding that because that really puts it into perspective, Alice, when it comes down to money. Money talks. And so we got to have numbers associated with these decisions and actions. So great. I'm glad you shared that. So if either of you would like to have a one-on-one consultation with us, you can reach out to say my own name, Alice or myself, and we'll be more than happy to, arrange time, work around your schedule, and, make sure you get all of the information you need because it is an investment and it's a big decision. It's an important decision. So we want to make sure that you feel comfortable with moving forward. But we thought we should at least start off by giving you the individual experiences of our guest speakers today, just so that you can hear it from someone else outside of us. So we can supplement that conversation, by having that one-on-one consultation with you all. And let me make sure our information is in the chat. Oh, there it is. Thank you. And so we'll all be following up with a resource for you all as a gift for your participation today. We find that, I know I like to have something tangible to use, when I'm going through planning or, getting things organized for the upcoming year. So we're going to definitely send that over to you. And then we're also going to share this recording as well. So just know that you'll get the recording, you'll get a resource guide, and we hope that you all, continue to join us for future presentations and, find this valuable. So thank you so much for joining us.